Yes, guys, what's going on? Welcome to AdamMcKola TV. We are back for another United Daily Live where we bring you the latest Manchester United news every single day here on AdamMcKola TV. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. We've already got 71,000 plus subscribers. Help me reach 75k ASAP. The target by the end of the year is 100k. So get hitting that subscribe button right now. And today we are talking about Solskjaer's explosive comments about how he builds his squad and no arseholes being allowed at Manchester United. We're also looking at Manchester United being back in training. Neil Wood, the under-23 coach, has been speaking about Teden Mengi, who's a highly rated centre-half at Manchester United. We were supposed to look at Danny Rose's comments regarding Pochettino yesterday, which we didn't do, so we'll look at them today if you want to. And anything else you guys want to discuss here on AdamMcKola TV, here on United Daily Live, get your links and your questions and your comments and your articles or whatever in those comments below, and make sure you're keeping it locked here on AdamMcKola TV. Solskjaer has given some great quotes for us to get stuck into today, and we will be doing that very shortly. But right now I can see C Squared, Tane, Gary, Daniel, Taron, Ryans, Ross Murphy, Edward Jones, Tane Shah, Ark Leganda, Glenn, Paul B, Nimai G, Andre, Two Tiers, all in the comments. So thank you very much for joining us today here on AdamMcKola TV. Thank you for getting involved, and of course, thank you to those guys that have joined us on the channel as well, to those guys that have become members and have become some of the first 50 odd members to be on AdamMcKola TV. Thank you very much to you guys for getting involved. I appreciate every last single one of you. To become a member, you click join, you get exclusive content, you help support the channel and the growth of the channel, you get to join the Discord, you get emojis and chat features on live streams. You can get participating in player interviews and giving me questions for interviews when we get player interviews like the Kiko one, and of course for Q&As and things you can get your topics in. So that's what benefits you get from being a member, but it's to help the growth of the channel as well, because we are taking things real big this year at AdamMcKola TV, and we're not going to stop. Specs, how you doing? We have just started. I'm just letting the numbers build, doing my usual intro, my usual blurb, as you usually do here on YouTube, and let people get in. You know how it is. You're not going to start a show and start the news as soon as it begins, because there's still people coming through the door. So that man Dan, Paul B's in the house, and we're looking at these Solskjaer comments today, and the main one for me, it's a real good quotable, was, I'd rather have a hole in the squad than an arsehole. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer warns his Manchester United stars that personal agendas will not be tolerated at Old Trafford after ditching some big names. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says Manchester United players have become more positive. Sorry about that, I got distracted by my screen there. He admits there have been players with personal agendas at Old Trafford, and the Norwegian now believes there is not a single bad apple in his dressing room. So this isn't a dig at the current squad. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has hailed the progress made by his Manchester United players this season, but warned personal agendas will not be tolerated at Old Trafford. The Norwegian was appointed United boss in December 2018, coming up to 2 years now. It's gone real quick, isn't it? Even though he was appointed as caretaker, made official about 4 months later. Disposing of Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez in the last summer transfer window. Now the 47-year-old has spoken candidly about the standards he demands from his players. In an interview with United We Stand fanzine, so shout out to United We Stand, shout out to Andy Mitten, shout out to those guys. They do incredible hard work on their fanzine. You've also got Barney at Red News as well, who does incredible work on their fanzines. If you can, check them out, because obviously while there's no games going on, their sales have probably dipped. So make sure you give them as much support as you can. Follow them on Twitter and get involved with Barney at Red News, and of course United We Stand. Institutions and the likes of them, some of them may not like it, the readers of fanzines, because you know how they are with fan TV channels. There tends to be a little bit of a clash there, but United We Stand and Red Issue and Red News inspired me to do what I do, because growing up as a kid reading those things and reading stuff that wasn't quite polished and wasn't so you know, squeaky clean and basically propaganda from the club, you were reading that and you were seeing real sides of things and real opinions, and even if there were opinions you didn't agree with, you were seeing them in there. And that's almost what we do now, but on a video basis, in videos rather than in articles and things like that. So those are institutions that are never going to go away. And shout out United We Stand, and shout out Red News, the granddaddies in this business. I'd rather have a hole in the squad than an arsehole, said Solskjaer. Listen to that quote. I'd rather have a hole in the squad than an arsehole. Now, many managers would have rather had an arsehole in the squad than a hole in the squad. We've seen it over the past, and you can't complain because these managers have to protect their job. They have to protect themselves. They have to make sure that if shit goes wrong, I've got players in these positions. And maybe Jose was guilty of that at times, keeping some players that on other occasions he wouldn't have, simply because we couldn't replace them or the board weren't able to replace them. Now that's the fault of the board and the fault, of the manager is sometimes thinking maybe the bigger picture is more important. And that's one thing Ollie's done. He's looked at the bigger picture at Manchester United. He's looked at, not himself all the time. He's put the club first. And if putting the club first means getting rid of certain players and certain characters, then so be it. I'm really, really glad to hear that kind of thing. Of course, I back Jose in terms of some of the decisions he made, or maybe not getting rid of certain players because he couldn't, or he didn't feel we'd get replacements. But ultimately, you have to think about the squad and the environment and the team morale. So he goes, I'd rather have a hole in the squad than an arsehole. Personality is so important. We're a team in a team environment. You want players to have a bit of ego and edge, but they have to be able to adapt. In March 2019, players were physically tired, mentally tired, and we had injuries. So he's saying after that initial spike, players had injuries, were mentally tired, physically tired. The changing of football probably didn't help. And he said the players started with negative thinking, whereas now it's positive thinking. And the power of positivity is always, is always a better thing. It's always good to be thinking positively than negatively, even if it doesn't help Ollie publicly sometimes. And then he went on and said there were other things I didn't like last year, some personal agendas which couldn't be sorted out until the summer. There will always be players who want to play more in football, but if a team is to be successful, then players have to be available at different times. I feel in this group now, we don't have one bad apple. But let me go and say that line again. There were other things I didn't like last year, some personal agendas which couldn't be sorted out until the summer. Lukaku, Sanchez. That's what springs to mind with those guys. Or maybe even more so Lukaku. Sanchez was just shit. Was he really kicking up much of a fuss? You hear about how he was obviously having a training ground bust up with Mason Greenwood and things like that. Did that impact his staying at the club? I don't know. Those things happen quite regularly in football, so is it fair to put that on him? But ultimately, he wasn't good enough, and it didn't seem like he wanted to be at Manchester United. And I'm glad that Ollie... Look, Ollie's a nice guy in front of cameras, but I have no doubts behind closed doors, he's very ruthless and he's very spot on with how he treats players in terms of keeping them on their toes, telling them off when they need to be told off, praising them when they need to be praised. And I think he does it right with the carrot and the stick. He's not just all of one, which is never going to work. So I think his man management and dealing with the squad has probably been the best thing that he's done since he's come to Manchester United. Yes, the results have improved in recent months, but when you look at our squad now compared to the squad when he took it, I feel we are in a much better position. We've got less deadwood, we've still got a bit, but we've got players in most positions that you want to see sticking around or fighting for a spot in the near future. Even if we need to improve on them in the first 11, we've still got a lot of players here that you think, actually, he could be a vital member of a successful squad that wins things. And you go from back to front from our first 11, like Rashford, Marshall, Daniel James. They can all contribute something to United being successful. You might say, yes, at right wing, we need to change Daniel James and we need an improvement on that going forward. And someone like Jadon Sancho is obviously that. But you wouldn't say Daniel James isn't going to contribute or is going to just be left out completely, because the kind of player he is, the way how hard he works, his mentality, the pace on him, he's always going to be able to contribute to the team. In midfield, McTominay, Fred, Matic more so in recent months has improved. But you look at those three and you think, yes, we need to improve in defensive holding midfield. But Fred, McTominay, they're contributing. They're contributing and they're improving. And McTominay, I think his ceiling is who knows how high that is. So he's looking like someone that will continue to improve. Pogba, Bruno, need I say anything about those two? They get into many teams around the world. In defence, it's the same. You're looking at, Wan-Bissaka, not going anywhere. Luke Shaw, Brandon Williams. Now, you might not be sure on either of them as the permanent left back for the next 5-10 years, or they may still have something to prove, but they're offering something. The same at centre half, Victor Lindelof, Maguire. Again, some people say we need a new centre half. We need another partner for Harry Maguire. Who can we get? Well, actually, yes, Victor Lindelof probably shown a little bit of glares, but no one's dribbled past him. People were saying that about Virgil van Dijk like he was the best thing in the world. Now, I know Virgil van Dijk was at the top of his game, but that was used as a big stat around him, wasn't it? No one dribbled past him and all that. And Victor Lindelof's got that stat this season. He's shown that he is a quality player who just needs to improve. And maybe we can bring more out of Bailly, Twanzebe. But you look at the squad, De Gea, Dean Henderson coming through, and we're in a much healthier position. Even on the bench. Yes, Jesse Lingard, Andreas Pereira. Question marks over whether they'll be here for the next 2-3 years. But, Matt I think's been contributing and we need his experience. You look around elsewhere and we've got players that are contributing at the moment. And that's good to have. We still need to improve the team. I'm not in denial on that or anything like that. I'm not saying the squad's perfect or the squad's ready to go. I just think Ollie's management of the squad has been one of the best things that he's done since he's arrived at the club in December 2018. And now we're coming up to 2 years with him, which is, you might not, you could possibly not even make 2 years. That's how quickly things can change in football. So, yeah, man. Henderson, I think, will be better every year, says Andre. Daniel says, the fact you're now saying that about McTominay speaks volumes, Adam. Shows how much he's consistently improving at the moment, as you and others didn't think he was good enough. And that's bang on. I'm never going to deny that. I get things wrong all the time. I'm not perfect, but I like to admit when I have been wrong, and I was wrong about Scott McTominay. I reckon you're right, Adam. He's all about the team and being united, and he's learned from the best ever, says Glenn. Ollie is a good manager, he needs time, says Andre. Jermaine says, Ollie has made me love my team again. I'd never stop loving the club, but I didn't love the team. I can understand where you're coming from, and many people say he's made the team more likeable for whatever that's worth, but he has said that. I know I missed Greenwood. The reason I missed Greenwood is I think he's someone that we don't need to put pressure on, but he is going to deliver. And that's the great, he got 15 goals. He got more than 10 goals this season, 12, 13 goals. And you look at him and you think, you forget, you can overlook him because he's so young. But next season, he'll probably score 20. And this season, he could score, we don't know how many games he's going to get. He could score 2, 3, 4 more goals. And you're looking at it thinking, wow, what a start to his life at United. Mason Greenwood's fantastically talented. Massive talent. The man is here. Says Ollie is the one. Watch this space. So yeah, them quotes from Ollie, I really enjoyed them. They're from United We Stand. So even though they are spread all over the news and all over the newspapers, they are from United We Stand. And I didn't notice that because they were tweeted literally everywhere. Without credit. So credit to United We Stand for the hard work that they do and the exclusive interviews that they get as well. Hopefully when I'll be in a position to do that in a few years. There will always be players who want to play more in football, but if a team is to be honest, so we read that, I feel that in this group we don't have one bad apple. And then he went on to say, when you win, everything is easy. It's when you hit difficult times that you can see who you want and who has the right mentality. We didn't see that until after Paris when we went into a bad run. That's when I see who I could build a long-term successful squad around. You need some egos in football, but it has to be team first. I could see more and more at the end of the season what needed improving. He seems to be learning as he goes along as well, doesn't he? And I don't mean coaching. Obviously, he is because he's quite young. But I mean, in terms of, you know, about his team, he's learning more, and he's obviously he's doing a good job so far. And it scares me because, like McTominay, I never expected McTominay to be so important for United at the moment. I didn't think Ollie would come this good, to be honest. I thought he'd be gone already. So I'm pleasantly surprised so far. Long may it continue, and long may he continue to sustain that improvement, because if we don't sustain that improvement and we plateau, or we stay at this level, he won't be left in the job for long. Guys, get hitting that like button, get commenting, get sharing, get subscribing, get joining if you can, right here on AdamMcKola TV. Remember, we've got loads to talk about. The United players were back in training yesterday, and they'll be continuing training today. Hey Adam, go and check out Woodward's quotes and revenue reports. Are they out now? Are they out now? Yes, they are. Wicked. Thank you very much for the heads up in regards to that. I've got the notifications from Simon Stone. So let me head over to Simon Stone. So we've got the financial reports, and we'll see some of the early. So one sec. All right. So from Man United, the company is withdrawing its previously issued fiscal 2020 revenue and adjusted EBITDA guidance. Given ongoing uncertainty due to COVID-19 and the evolving related economic and financial consequences, the company is not providing updated guidance at this time. Since our focus remains on the health and well-being of our colleagues, fans and partners around the world, and we're extremely proud of how we connected to those how those connected to the club have responded during this crisis. Since the start of pandemic, Man United and Foundation provided assistance to hospitals, charities, schools, support for frontline workers, vulnerable fans. Actions reflect core values and resilience to adversity. We've demonstrated many times and will do so to weather current climate. Profound challenges ahead for football, but our club is still built on a solid foundation with a robust financial base and diverse revenue streams, ample liquidity with over 90 million of cash on hand. Confirmation from United that they expect to pay broadcasters back 15 million. So broadcasting revenue for the quarter was 26 million, a decrease of 27.8 million, or 51.7%, primarily due to estimated £15 million Premier League rebate due to broadcasters following delay in broadcast schedule changes to the 19-20 season. The debt has gone up to 429.1 million, an increase of 127.4 million due to an overall decrease in cash equivalents and adverse movements in the pound and the dollar exchange rate. The gross US dollar debt principal remains unchanged. Still, they're big numbers. United £429.1 million. That has gone up from £300 million worth of debt to £429.1 million. So whilst Manchester United won't be heavily affected by the coronavirus pandemic, we will still clearly be affected. We're losing £15 million in broadcast revenue. Our debt's gone up by 127.4 million. They've got ample liquidity and over 90 million of cash in hand, cash on hand, or cash there to spend. So United are in a decent position, but obviously they're reliant on the current climate, aren't they? And things are going to change for everybody. So that is the latest from those quotes from Ed Woodward in relation to the debt and the financial figures and the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. So there you go. I don't quite understand what the company is withdrawing from its previously issued. Okay, so we issued a fiscal 2020 revenue and guidance. Okay, so this isn't the same now. So I think they released something and they've had to basically say, well, that's not going to be the case now because of X, Y, and Z, which has happened, and because of the changes in the financial revenues. So there we go, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Get your questions in, get your thoughts in. What is your reaction to that? Joe's finally up before 1 o'clock today. Well done, Joe. Well done, mate. So let's see what you lot are saying in relation to that. We got 300 people almost in this live stream. So get hitting that like button, get commenting, get sharing, and get subscribing. Imagine the damage this can have on some of the smaller clubs, as Daniel Hazel. Thanks again, Art, for flagging those up for me. I'll cover them more in the Weekly United as well, which is going to be up later on today. It's an action-packed Weekly United. Probably end up being about 15 minutes. Who's seen Master Debaters yesterday? Did you check that out? Yes, Al Harrington, don't worry, bro. You can't make every single live stream. I understand that, but you do still support the channel, and for that, I appreciate you. So thank you very much. Guys, get hitting that like button. Can we hit 150 likes on this stream while we're live? We're on 56 right now, so we need around 94 more. Get hitting that like button, get commenting, get sharing, get subscribing. And what are your thoughts on the latest fiscal reports from Manchester United? Here comes the no value in the market excuses, says P-Rocks. I think being a good businessman, they can invest more money right now and get players on the cheap rather than going for them when everything is normal and paying more. And I think that is something that is quite important, is that United may consider that in relation to, going forward. We might start thinking, actually, can we get a few players this year? And I spoke about it before, Rania. But those reports and those things are still going to have an impact, and they're still going to mean something. Let's go to, someone said check United report, which I'm doing. So as of March 31st, 2020, Manchester United had £90.3 million in cash reserves with access to an additional £150 million available through the revolving credit facility. Commercial revenue is up 3% to £68.6 million. Broadcast revenue is down 51.7% to £26 million. Matchday revenue is obviously down as well, 8.2% to £29.1 million. Total revenue is down by 18.7% to £123.7 million. Net debt is up 42.2%. 42.2%. The Glazonomics having a big impact as always, and they will continue to as well. If we weren't such a commercially successful club, we would have been fucked. Let's be real, under these guys. So let us know what you're thinking in those comments below. What do I make of the constant links to Koulibaly, says Abdul. I can't see Manchester United spending 80 million on like 29, 30-year-old. I just can't see it. So unless they're going to sell him for like 30, 40 million, which is unlikely, I can't see United being involved and getting interested in that. Connor Jackson, how you doing? Neil Fish, morning mate. Glenn, how you doing? Mikhail says McTominay has been working his socks off in quarantine. He's going to be a right monster. 2008 Champions League final was 12 years ago today, says Ryan's. Yep, 12 years ago today, Manchester United played Chelsea in Moscow 2008. I never had a ticket for the game, unfortunately. I went to every single home game along the way. The knockouts, Lyon, Barcelona, all that stuff, Benfica, like just loads of games along the way, and then never got a ticket to the final, so we ended up watching it at the Palace Hotel. It was a Manchester United Supporters Trust screening in Manchester, so we went down there, 21st of March 2008, watched United beat Chelsea on penalties at the Palace Hotel, and then we went out into the streets and got absolutely bladdered, celebrated, continued into the night. And then as midnight hit that night, it was my birthday. So it was an incredible time for me to be alive anyway. And of course for all Manchester United fans. But yeah, what great times those were. And being able to watch that team blossom and grow into European champions and winning the league and all of that stuff was truly remarkable. What a team it was. When you look at Rooney and Ronaldo, Carrick, Hargreaves, Scholes, Anderson, Nani, Giggs, Rio, Vidic, Evra. We had Wes Brown at right back. Gary Neville was injured at that point, wasn't he, for most of the season. And then we had in goal Van der Sar, who was incredible. The squad was strong. United was strong, and it was a fantastic team. It was a fantastic moment. And watching that game back, because I was very drunk during the game, but I remember Ronaldo scoring. I remember Lampard scoring. I remember, was it Giggs having the shot just cleared off the line? Carrick missing. We should have battered them. We literally should have battered them. And the fact that they got to penalties was a shock in itself. And it kind of just felt to me like, Ah, dear. These lot are going to win this, ain't they? Like, it just felt like that because we hadn't scored our chances. We hadn't taken anything. And then John Terry slips. Van der Sar saves an Alca's penalty. And the rest is history. The rest is history. Dizzy Red, how you doing? Back in the day, cool. Do you think we'll get Grealish, Sancho and Bellingham, says Jay. I'm confident on Sancho. I'm 50-50 on Grealish. And I'm in between on Bellingham. Because Bellingham could go anywhere, couldn't he? Dortmund or anything. But then, what's Dortmund's... Like, if you're looking at United are losing money, how much money are Dortmund are that losing? So, you've got to take that into consideration as well. Are they going to be able to pay for him? Is he going to be a lot cheaper? Can we get him for like 15, 20 mil because Birmingham got no money? Didn't even watch JT's penalty. Couldn't hack. I was on the floor like this. And I can remember my dad pulling my shirt like this. I had this shirt on at the time. This was my shirt. My 08 shirt. There's the bad boy. Ronaldo's number because I was obsessed. And then, after we won it, I bought this bad boy. Look at this bad boy here. This is just a bad boy shirt, isn't it? Look at that. Champions. 07, 08. What a time. What a time to be alive. And that there has got Solskjaer's signature on it. Wes Brown's. A few other signatures on it as well from the airport. When we went to the airport and we seen United coming back from Rome after we lost in the 2009 final, which was absolutely heartbreak central, wasn't it? Which is worse, JT slip or Stevie G slip, says Louis. Well, probably Stevie G's because JT, like Anelka still could have kept him in it, So there you go. How good is Teden Mengi? How good is Teden Mengi? And that's who we're going to talk about next because Neil Wood has been speaking about Teden Mengi recently. He's the under-23 manager and he's been saying he's the one that will be the next one to break through. So Teden Mengi will be the next youth star to break into the Manchester United senior squad, according to the under-23s coach Neil Wood. The centre-back has gone from strength to strength in the academy ranks this season, captain the under-18s in the FA Youth Cup semi-finals. Mengi has only just turned 18 and Wood is convinced he can emulate what Brandon Williams has done this season. Wood told MEN Sport, Teden has been fantastic. He came up to us quite early on in the season and a bit like Brandon in the sense he came from the 18s and took his chance. He played really well, kept his place in the team. And when he dropped back down at the end of the season to lead the youth team, he put in some excellent performances there. We'll be looking to work with him next season. And he's one we want to do a Brandon with him, push him on, and the goal is to try and get him pushed up into the first team if we can. Now United need a centre half, don't we? Smalling goals, Jones goals, Rojo goals. We need a centre half, don't we? So we need to make sure we've got some coming through if we're not going to splash the cash on one. And Teden Mengi is one that's fantastically talented. Now we have to take our time with him. We have to take our time with him. We have to allow him to develop. We have to allow him to become the player he is. But you know, he's coming through, 18 years old, got the world at his feet. He's got a fair few good defenders to learn from. Axel's just not far ahead of him. Then you got Harry Maguire and stuff like that. So to get him integrated into the first team, get him in the squads, things like that, would be absolutely fantastic. And allow him to maybe get an opportunity in the Carling Cup. You could maybe, you don't have to really send him out on loan because he's not that, you don't need to rush him yet. So next season in the 23s, could be his first full season in the 23s, occasionally in the first team squad. And then maybe next summer, depending on how he's got on or what the opportunities are looking like in the first team, you send him out on loan. But he's the next one up, according to Neil Wood. And I think according to many, many players as well. Although Jimmy Garner is massively talented. He could be going on loan though to Sheffield Wednesday. Guys, we have almost hit 100 likes. Not the 150 I wanted. Get hitting that like button right now. Help us hit that 100 target. We're on 95. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure being with you this afternoon. We've got the Weekly United coming up. We'll look at those financial results a little bit more in the Weekly United. On the day when Ollie has said there are no arseholes allowed in his squad. He'd rather have a hole in his squad than arseholes in his squad. Let us know what you think about those comments in the comments below. Make sure you're keeping it locked. You're liking, you're commenting, you're sharing and you're subscribing. And for now, I have been Adam McKola. You lot have been legends. I'm out of here.